Not everyone's life seemed as colorful as mine. It seemed that luck was always on my side in everything. I had a large, close-knit family, celebrating every event with joy and extravagance, which was not always accessible to other families. I was lucky in education, getting in exactly where I expected. I was fortunate with friends from a young age, and even when I started working, I could say with confidence that I was also very lucky to find a good company, high pay, and a cohesive team. But with my wife Camila, I was the luckiest of all. Camila has always been an enviable fiancée, beautiful and intelligent, a wonderful dancer, a kind and cheerful girl who has become a beautiful woman. From our first meetings, I won Camila's heart, doing my best to show her how delighted I was every time we met. I would give her a single flower, accompanied by a small card adorned with beautiful words. "You are as beautiful as the bud of this rose. You attract me like a flower attracts a bee." These and many other words I wrote to her while we were still at school. Later, when I could afford whole bouquets and other gifts, I wrote genuine poems comparing my beloved to goddesses and muses who have inspired mortals throughout history. "Your eyes shine brighter than the stars," I whispered to her whenever we took a late-night stroll. Camila loved to hear this, and loved me for these romantic gestures with which I was always ready to present her. Many hearts were broken by Camila's choice of me as her husband. For many years, we rejoiced and grieved together, facing many trials both during our studies and afterwards in our respective workplaces. Years passed, and the two of us never separated, and I finally proposed marriage to Camila. When I did, I couldn't imagine that she would agree. I feared that she would realize that she could find a much more attractive and wealthier man. And although I had carefully planned the day, starting with dinner at a new restaurant that Camila was eager to visit and ending on the waterfront under the fireworks, I was so nervous that I even forgot to get down on one knee. As soon as I saw Camila's eyes reflecting the flashes of the fireworks launched into the dark skies, I drowned in them, completely forgetting the words I had prepared and the traditional gesture I was supposed to make before asking this incredibly important question. "Marry me," I exhaled, catching the look in her dark, bottomless eyes, burning with overflowing happiness. She agreed without hesitation, not even noticing that I hadn't got down on one knee. For her, the main thing was that I had finally asked the question she had been dreaming of for years. My joy knew no bounds. Camila had chosen me. We had a rich wedding in every sense. Our extended families celebrated for several days, joyfully and noisily commemorating our union. At first, I feared that our warm-hearted relatives would find a reason to quarrel, but apparently everyone forgot their disagreements. But after the honeymoon, although our married life remained peaceful and harmonious, something just didn't feel right. Our parents didn't put much pressure on us to have children, but hinted that they would like to see grandchildren. However, months passed and Camila still couldn't get pregnant. In the early years, I didn't express my dissatisfaction. After all, there could be many reasons. We didn't even spare the expense of doctors, but they said that both spouses were healthy and the absence of a child could be due to the stress they were both experiencing at work. I became even more attentive to Camila. I started taking her out for romantic dinners and dates more often, showering her with gifts and organizing the most relaxing vacations I could. Thanks to my attention and care, my beautiful wife blossomed even more. Much to the envy of the wives of all my colleagues and acquaintances, everything would be fine, but colleagues as well as their wives started whispering behind my back, "Look, she's bought a new dress." They pointed at Camila, who came to my workplace. "Spending money again, poor thing. She'll probably leave it soon for someone richer. Look how beautiful she looks. What a wife she has who can't even give him a child." At first, I didn't pay attention to all this, but over time, each word slowly began to undermine my confidence. I could have been influenced by all these rumors and speculations, but one day Camila ran up to me at work, beaming with joy. I was used to us having lunch together often, but for the first time I saw her so smiling and radiant. "I have wonderful news. I'm pregnant," Camila told me without waiting for us to be alone. Any doubts that had crept into my soul were forgotten by this news. We had been trying for so long to have a child that I had given up hope, but a miracle happened, and Camilla blessed me with the most beautiful news she could give me. Delighted, I forgot all the rumors and doubts. I carried her in my arms again and filled her with presents. We turned one of the rooms into a nursery, and I let Camilla choose whatever decorations and colors she wanted. And when we found out during a visit to the doctor that we were expecting twins, I was ecstatic. All the years we spent without children were rewarded with twins. I'd always wanted a big family, and twins weren't an obstacle, but an addition to our happiness, especially as they were a boy and a girl. I enjoyed my new life with my beautiful wife and couldn't get enough of her smiles. Finally, our family would be complete with the birth of our children. The nursery was full of things. Now, instead of one crib, there were two, and the room was equipped in a way that many of our guests envied. The day I brought Camilla home from the hospital with the twins, I felt like I was on cloud nine. Although many of my colleagues and friends didn't understand, I spent a lot of time with my wife and children, helping Camilla with what normally fell exclusively on the shoulders of women. Even our own mothers scolded me for this behavior, but I didn't care because I shared the care of our children with Camilla. Seeing her smile and the smiles of our children was more important to me. What could be wrong? I would come home from work to find loving children and a wife who had quickly regained her shape after giving birth. However, less than a year passed before rumors began to spread again, and I could no longer easily ignore them. The children didn't look like me at all. Camilla regained her figure very quickly, and my wife looked as beautiful and sexy as before her pregnancy. Not a day went by without me hearing something similar at work, and although my colleagues tried to keep it down, I still heard them. How can he not see that? The children have curly hair, but he and Camilla don't, whispered a colleague. You can't get back in shape that quickly, whispered another, condemning how Camilla had regained her slimness so quickly. It's all because that flirt has someone to impress, another gossip said. I began to doubt. Could it really be like that? Maybe those who gossiped behind Camilla's back were right, and she wasn't as simple as I'd like to think. I began to pay more attention to the children. In fact, their skin was lighter, the shape of their eyes didn't resemble mine, and their hair was curly, not straight like mine or Camilla's. And then I realized that Camilla was becoming more and more like me. And then I realized that Camilla was becoming more and more reserved, and apparently she still smiled, was still tender and affectionate with me, still ready to listen and advise, but something had changed in her. Sometimes she left the room to take a call and no longer left her phone lying around, always carrying it with her. Once, I couldn't help accidentally overhearing one of these conversations. I get goosebumps every time he talks. Camilla sighed with a soft laugh. Oh, and when he takes his shirt off, oh God, what a man. These words disturbed me and made me think. I hadn't found the time to take proper care of myself and get back to training. I used to run regularly and play sports, but now I didn't because I was so tired after work. I began to think that Camilla was definitely hiding something from me. At first, I didn't even know how to approach the situation that had arisen, and I hesitated for a long time before plucking up the courage to ask her directly. Camilla, are you hiding something from me? I've noticed that you've started taking your phone with you, and now you only answer calls by leaving the room. What would I have to hide, darling? She smiled in response, hugging me. I have nothing to hide. Then explain why you started taking your phone with you instead of leaving it lying around. I've become more responsible, that's all. You yourself scolded me for always losing it, and with the children, the phone has become useful. I can keep an eye on the little ones when they're asleep and not lose it when they need my attention. And the phone calls? You used to always talk in front of me, but now you always leave. Honey, do you really want to hear about diapers and overalls or the TV shows I talk about with my mom and friends? After a long day at work, I understand that you're tired, even if you do help me with our little angels in the evenings. I'm the one on maternity leave now, and you should rest and understand that. Camilla's answers sounded quite reasonable, and I accepted them, although I harbored suspicions that it was all just a cover for something else. Doubts began to eat away at me, even after our conversation, and although Camilla habitually reached out to me, surrounding me with attention and affection, I distanced myself a little from her. Much of what Camilla did seemed suspicious to me. Then I heard new rumors about my wife at work. "I'm telling you, I saw Camilla with a man and they were hugging," whispered one of my colleagues to another, right in front of everyone. "Should we tell Mateo? He's such a good man," the other replied. "How am I going to tell him? He'll call me a gossip. He loves that flirt so much." I didn't tell my colleagues that I had overheard the conversation, but I reflected deeply on all the signs of infidelity I had seen in my wife's behavior. Over the next few weeks, I contemplated how I could understand what was really going on. I was cautious and didn't seek advice from friends or colleagues. Instead, I turned to the internet, where I could easily find ways to catch my wife in the act. I read various accounts of people who had been in similar situations, memorizing possible methods of testing Camilla's loyalty, and gradually began to plan when and how to carry out the most crucial test of my life. As much as I feared being one of those men who discovers the cruel truth about his wife's infidelity, I still decided to do it. The simplest method, I realized, was to write a farewell letter to Camilla, hide and see what she would do when she read it. However, as I sat with a sheet of paper and a pen in front of me, I couldn't figure out how to write the letter. Beautiful, warm memories of our love flooded my mind, of how we rejoiced together at any event and how we lived happily for many years. For a long time, I sat trying to write at least a few lines and repeatedly failed, crumpling up the letter I had started and beginning a new one. Finally, I managed to gather my thoughts and express everything in a way that made the letter seem sincere and not too hard on Camilla. I didn't mention my suspicions, but I did state in the letter that I no longer felt the same when I was with her. I confessed that her distancing made me feel the need to be alone and reflect on the situation. I ended the letter by saying that I still loved her. I hoped that if this letter didn't make Camilla regret her transgressions, it would at least make her think about what she had done. But deep down, I also hoped I was wrong. I desperately wanted our lives to return to normal, even though I saw unfamiliar traits in our children. Finally, I chose a day off from work and put the prepared letter in the most visible place while Camilla wasn't at home. She had gone out with the twins, which gave me enough time to find a suitable hiding place where she wouldn't find me. I chose a closet as a hiding place, conveniently positioned to hear conversations throughout most of the house. Hiding there, I tried not to think about what might happen if Camilla decided to take a look inside. When my wife returned, I heard the rustle of paper and a prolonged silence as Camilla read my letter. I began to think that the silence was lasting too long, but then came the sound of the letter falling to the floor, followed by a soft cry. Camilla was crying. I almost smiled, ready to exhale with relief, but then I heard my wife reach into her handbag and dial a number. "Hello," she whispered in a shaky voice. I froze, listening intently, and suddenly realized that she had whispered a man's name. "Yes, Diego." I couldn't believe my ears. My beloved wife Camilla was cheating on me. Camilla sobbed, but continued to speak very softly, almost inaudibly. "Are you coming?" "All right, Diego, I'll wait." I clenched my fists, unable to believe such a betrayal. I loved her so much. I adored her. I showered her with presents. I did everything for her, and she betrayed me. Suddenly, Camilla spoke again. This time it sounded like she was talking to someone completely different. "Gabriel, everything is so bad. He left me. Do you understand? What should I do?" For a while, she listened to the man on the other end of the line, then sighed. "Okay." Camilla's voice calmed down briefly, but after a few minutes, she picked up the phone again. "Pablo, it's me," Camilla whispered in a broken voice. "Yes, no, it's something else." I didn't know what else to think. 3 men. How could she manage affairs with 3 men behind my back? "Yes, it's not worth it. Okay, I'll wait." Again, silence fell, and I began to ponder whether I should come out of hiding now or wait until one of my wife's lovers showed up. Mentally, I was already considering calling my lawyer friend to start divorce proceedings, but curiosity took over. If I caught Camilla with a lover, I could capture it on my cell phone and have evidence of her infidelity, which would help resolve the divorce and division of assets much more quickly. The soft melody of Camilla's phone ringing made me tense up and listen again. Yes, Raphael. I couldn't help feeling an even greater shock. Another one? This conversation seemed one-sided. Camilla remained silent, only sighing occasionally before hanging up the phone. Not knowing what to think, I forced myself to calm down and be patient, even though anger burned inside me. Soon, I heard a car pull up in front of the house. A few moments later, the front door opened and Camilla, judging by the sounds, threw herself into the arms of the person who entered, sobbing loudly. The man said something to her, but I couldn't hear. I was too far from the door to catch the conversation, but I could vividly imagine everything that might have been said. A few minutes later, 2 other cars arrived and I was stunned. Now Camilla couldn't escape. If all her lovers found out about each other, there would be no avoiding a scandal. However, no matter how hard I tried to listen, I couldn't hear any shouting, fighting, or signs of disagreement. On the contrary, it seemed that the 3 men were collectively consoling the weeping Camilla once again. "What's going on in there?" I whispered. I didn't delay any longer, and came out of my hiding place, ready to confront my wife and her lovers. However, as soon as I approached them, all my indignation and prepared words got stuck in my throat. In front of me were 3 of my friends, with whom I had lost touch some time ago because they had moved to other cities. The only stranger was the man hugging my wife. I suddenly realized that 2 of my friends, Gabriel and Diego, had thick curly hair, and one of them could actually be the twins' father. On seeing me, all 5 of them looked at me with confusion and anger. "Mateo, explain yourself." Raphael, the least irritated, was the first to approach. I forced myself to shake off the shock and puffed out my chest, masking my confusion with anger. "I'm the one who has to explain. How dare you all? I'm the victim of my wife's infidelity, whom I vitalized all these years." Camilla gasped, shocked by my words. "Yes, indeed. Don't deny it, you betrayed me." "And with whom?" "With my own friends. That's why children don't look like me. Everyone who warned me was right." I began to vent all the rumors I'd heard for years. The people in front of me were speechless, listening to me with wide eyes until I finally ran out of breath. Camilla, apparently finding her voice first, said, "So that's it. I used to love hearing that tone of yours when you suddenly calmed down and became rational in the middle of an argument. Previously, I was impressed by your ability to calm down and think rationally about the problem we were facing in order to resolve everything and move on again. But this time, I heard that tone in a completely different way." "Have you lost your mind, buddy?" Gabriel exclaimed. "And you haven't? Cheating on your own wife with Camilla and now trying to blame me," I shouted. "What are you talking about? Where did you get this nonsense in your head?" Raphael asked. "Darling, is this your husband?" asked the man hugging Camilla. "Is this the man you used to brag so much about?" "He's pretty average, I must say." "Darling, I wonder why I bothered to bring beauty to a goddess like you for this." I frowned, noticing the stranger's peculiar mannerisms. "Pablo, listen to me, darling. Like a fashion designer who knows a thing or two about life, if your man only looks for the bad in you, he'll find it no matter how hard you try. You may shine like gold, but if he thinks you smell of manure, that's what you'll be to him." "Who the fuck are you?" I asked Pablo indignantly. "My name is Pablo, darling, but rest assured, I won't go near you even if you spill a bottle of tequila on me." The man laughed. "Camilla always described you as a handsome man with a pure heart, but I see right through you, darling." Gabriel looked at me and gritted his teeth. "So you lied to Camilla?" "I didn't lie, I was testing her. She's cheating on me." "You're an idiot," Diego shook his head. Camilla held the man. "That's enough," she declared. "I understand everything now. It was pointless bringing you together for the alumni reunion. It was pointless trying to surprise Mateo. He made up his mind a long time ago. Well, Mateo, it's a good thing I took the children to my mother's house." "They won't hear about it. Don't you dare use the children as an excuse. They're clearly not mine if they have curly hair. They don't even look like me," I shouted, unable to speak calmly. "Ah, so that's it. The children aren't yours and your wife is cheating on you and you refuse to listen. Camilla became the woman I loved. Her dark eyes became stern and confident, but now they were directed at me, not at the problems we used to solve together. What is there to listen to? Your empty excuses? I began to shout. Diego spat at my feet. Imbecile! Camilla raised her head proudly. Maybe you'll hear the truth. How can you explain why children don't look like me? What about your grandfather? Have you forgotten him? Don't you like curls? Your grandfather had curly hair. And before I got pregnant, you were sighing about how nice it would be if children had curls like your grandfather. Camilla looked at me with sparkling eyes. Have you forgotten? I was perplexed, but quickly remembered one of the rumors. What about the man my colleague saw you with? You were hugging him. Darling, that's how we greet each other. Pablo looked down at his nails, laughing. We're good friends. I have my own husband. Your wife means nothing to me. What about the conversations? You were talking to someone about a man. For a few moments, Camilla pondered, and I thought I'd finally caught her. Are you talking about last Wednesday? When Ana and I were discussing the new episode of our favorite soap opera? Oh, Alejandro, Pablo sighed exaggeratedly next to Camilla. What a man, what shoulders! Rafael shook his head, covering his face with the back of his hand. Mateo, you really are an idiot. You're looking for something where there isn't one. I began to gasp with indignation. We were trying to surprise you? Camilla crossed her arms over her chest. And with your vile attitude, you've turned everything into a nightmare. I wanted to get our friends together for a reunion, to surprise you with the arrival of Rafael, Gabriel, and Diego. Pablo offered to help me find a dress and beautify me. And all you can think about is how to accuse me of infidelity. Silence fell again, and Camilla shook her head, reaching for her bag and heading for the exit. Pablo, be a dear and take me to my mother's house, she asked her stylist. Of course, darling, he replied, casting a look of displeasure at me, and followed her out. I wanted to follow them, but my 3 friends stopped me. Over the next few hours, I heard a lot about myself from my friends. They spared no evidence, showing me their conversations with Camilla, where they discussed the reunion. Tears of guilt and regret streamed down my face, as I couldn't believe that I had single-handedly destroyed my beautiful life with Camilla because of rumors and speculation from people who knew nothing about my life. For the first 2 days, Camilla didn't even answer my calls, but on the 3rd day, I went to her mother's house with a huge bouquet of flowers and knelt at the door. When Camilla opened the door, I asked for forgiveness. Forgive me, I begged, looking up. Camilla's mother passed behind her. Imbecile, not a man. Imbecile, she said. I agreed with my mother-in-law. A complete imbecile. Forgive me, Camilla. She sighed deeply, and her angry eyes softened. Do you realize that you could have lost me because of rumors? Because you believed others instead of the person closest to you? I couldn't speak anymore. I just nodded. No matter how many times I say it, listen to your heart, not the words of others. Camilla knelt down in front of me and put the bouquet aside. I never wanted to cheat on you, darling, because you are the most wonderful, romantic, loving man, only sometimes foolish. Camilla's mother passed behind her. Imbecile, not a man. Imbecile, she said. I agreed with my mother-in-law. A complete imbecile. Forgive me, Camilla. She sighed deeply, and her angry eyes softened. Do you realize that you could have lost me because of rumors, because you believed others instead of the person closest to you? I couldn't speak anymore, I just nodded. No matter how many times I say it, listen to your heart, not the words of others. Camilla knelt down in front of me and put the bouquet aside. I never wanted to cheat on you, darling, because you are the most wonderful, romantic, loving man, only sometimes foolish. I couldn't answer. Camilla kissed me on the lips, and I realized that she had forgiven me. Now I just had to make it up to her and forgive myself for being so insecure as to doubt my wife's fidelity.